Welcome to Pod Apostle. Help us build the kingdom of God. Like, subscribe, and share. Oftentimes in St. Paul's letters, there will be sections of them that are very rich and theologically dense, and then he transitions into a kind of a pastoral appeal to people and their behavior and their kind of understanding of themselves. And we see that happening in this letter to the Ephesians. And Paul is talking about the fact that he's a prisoner when he's writing this letter. I, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to live in a manner worthy of your call. What is our call? What is our call? Our call is to be Christians, to live, to be worthy of the name Christian, follower of Christ, little Christ, anointed one. To be worthy of the call. I urge you to live in a manner worthy of the call you have received. Humility, gentleness, patience, bearing with one another. Imagine that, right? Put up with each other, he says, essentially. Put up with each other. And strive to preserve, this is the word I wanted to get to preserve the unity of the Spirit. Jesus prayed at great length for the unity of his followers, that we would be united in faith, in a bond of peace, called one hope. Our call ultimately has one hope: to dwell in the house of the Lord for eternity. That is our hope, that we would dwell in the house of the Father. One hope, our hope. Now granted, we don't dismiss the little hopes, but they all flow to that one, for ourselves and for our neighbor. The one hope of our call. And we have one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God, one Father. It should be important to us that we would be united in our faith. This is something that I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine who is a convert to Catholicism. His family is not Catholic. And in many respects, they're anti-Catholic. They have been anti-Catholic most of his life, thought he made a big mistake to become Catholic. Anyway, recently one of his sisters started listening to the Bible in a Year by Father Mike Schmitz, and kind of confessed to him that maybe there is something to this Catholicism, And the idea that was getting her a little bit was the fullness of the faith. It's not that we say our Protestant brothers and sisters are wrong about everything. What we say is they don't have the fullness of the faith. And so often when our faith is divided, something is cut out. Something is lacking. The Blessed Mother, for example. Confession, for example. Purgatory, for example. Things are cut off that don't kind of fit. And, this brings me to the gospel ever so briefly. What's Jesus talking about here when he says, you won't be released until you pay the last penny? And he just talked about severe beatings and not severe beatings. I don't know if you remember that from a couple days ago. And it doesn't always make sense to us necessarily, but this fits into the Catholic understanding of being purified, now or later. And so we strive in the fullness of faith and the unity of faith and the love of humanity in this one body, one spirit, one faith, one hope of our call to be pure and holy and ready to dwell in the house of the Lord for all eternity.